Time once again for the Kaufman Corner podcast. David Lesky, Soren, Petro with you as we get you ready for some Royals baseball. They get ready to come home. They're 5-2 in their last 7, 5-5 on their road trip. What does all that mean? We'll talk about that. Bobby Witt Jr. leaving with a sore knee. How concerned should Royals fans be? Has Alex Lange solidified the closer role, at least for now? Noah Cameron's back. Luinder Avila looks good in the rotation, 500. Right now, sub 500 is a wild card, so do the Royals just need to be shooting for 500? Is that going to guarantee a playoff spot? Jack Caglione runs into a wall. We're talking about it right here, right now, on the Kaufman Corner podcast.
You're listening to the Kaufman Corner podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by David Lesky and Soren Petro. David Lesky is an accomplished author and the publisher of the Inside the Crown Royals baseball newsletter. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are your hosts, David Lesky and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. I do appreciate it. If you're catching us via the podcast, remember you can be a part of the conversation. We stream live Sunday nights at 9 p.m. You can be in the chat room making your thoughts known, as a number of people already are right now. So we look forward to you joining us in the live stream Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Central Time in the future. David, the Royals come home 5-5. They drop the first 3 on a 10-game road trip and then go, 5-2. From that point on, what does a 5-5 road trip mean? What at least, maybe let's even narrow it down. What does 5-2 in the last 7 mean for this ball club now?
I don't know how much it means, honestly, but the Reds are reeling. The Twins are clearly not a good team, but they beat the teams they were supposed to beat. If I guess they didn't. I guess the teams were supposed to beat them with the way the Royals had played coming into the series. But if you go back to the beginning of the season, you say, oh, the Royals are better than the Reds. The Royals are better than the Twins. They should beat those teams. And they did. So that's a good thing. I mean, I think it's a positive when you're beating teams that are struggling. I think that's how you stack up wins. I have a hard time putting too much stock into it. We've seen this a little bit here and there. We saw them sweep the Mariners. We saw them, have that 13-game stretch that we said let's shoot for 7-6, and they went 8-5. Okay, here we are. We're good to go. No, and then they lost a bunch of games. So I'm not ready to say, oh, it's the ship has turned and they're on their way to greener pastures. But I mean, it's the same thing we always say. Like, you can't win 2 in a row until you win 1. You can't win 3 until you win 2. You can't have a 20-8 stretch without a 5-2 in there somewhere. So it's a good start. I'm not bought in yet, I guess. Or where are you on that?
Yeah, no, listen, I feel like, I feel like this team is better than what they've played to this point. I mean, I'm not trying to say that they deserve to be better than what their record is. You are what your record says you are. I do believe in the Bill Parcells part of that equation. But I do think that, overall, this body of talent is better than, whatever they are, 12 games below 500 now. The problem is, I don't know that a team without its top 2 starting pitchers, its closer, its starting second baseman, all those things are happening. Plus, they've had other injuries along the way. I don't know that team is better. Their 6th starter is out as well. So the first guy that would have stepped in for 1 and 2 is out. So, I think they played decent baseball, but they beat the Twins by a total of 2 runs over 4 games. right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, oh man, look at them. It was 7-1, 6-3. They lost, 4-3, and then they won 10-1, right? It was still a largely even series, and they're playing bad teams, and this is what they should do. So no, I don't think anything has turned in the right direction. I think it was just an abnormality how much they were losing previously. So it doesn't mean a whole lot to me right now. It's better to win, and I think they can draw some strength and confidence from that. But yeah, I want to be like, oh boy, here they go. But the way these games were played and the way the bullpen almost gave up today's game, no, I think baseball happens, and baseball happens to the negative, which was their 3-13 run, and baseball happens to the positive, which is their 5-2 right now. I wish I could say it differently, but I can't.
3-16. Let's get this right. Let's give them all the credit they deserve for that stretch.
Okay.
But I mean, you're right, and I think that it's important to the way you win matters. Like I think about it's the Reds. Like, you use the Reds from 2 years ago. I mean, they went into the Cincinnati in that series. That was the Dairon Blanco game and the crayon bat and all that. They went into Cincinnati that series and just absolutely demolished a mediocre Reds team. I think they were around 500 in 2024. If the Royals had done that, if they'd gone to Cincinnati and just destroyed the Reds, and then they'd gone, they did in the first game, I guess, and if they'd gone to Minneapolis and taken 3 or 4, like you said, and they were plus 13 in 4 games. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a different conversation, I think, than they did enough to beat bad teams, which I don't know if the Reds are a bad team, but they're playing like one right now. It's better. Like you said, it's kind of like spring training is, I don't care what the record is, but I'd rather it be 20-10 than 10-20, just because it's nice to get wins. But look, it's like the other side of that is, like I said, you can't start a long stretch of winning without a short stretch of winning. And so I think, and we'll get into this with the American League, but I think these next, 12 games, Rangers, Astros, Nationals, Cardinals, I think they're really important. If they can somehow go 8-4 in this stretch and be 8 games under 500 heading into what looks like a tough road trip to Tampa and Chicago, and then they come back home to play the Rays too, and the Phillies, I mean, that's a tough stretch. If they can go 8-4 in these next 12, then we can start to have a conversation about how they figured it out. But again, they can't have a 13-6 stretch in that without starting 5-2. So they did what they needed to do. They just didn't do it impressively enough for me to say, oh, I'm all on this team.
I do like the fact that they won with the Sunday lineup, right? Yeah. Like Starling Marte finally came through with a home run. That was obviously the biggest blow of the game.
He'd been so close for like 3 games. Have you? Yeah. I mean, he was at the wall, and then you kind of felt for the guy. But yes, that was great.
Yeah, Nick Lofton's in the game. Tolbert's in the game. Lane Thomas is in the game and batting leadoff. So, yeah, I mean, I do think, and, the way that Matt Quatraro talked about Bobby Witt Jr.'s knee at the end of the game makes us think that it's not a big deal. He said with the off day, feel pretty good. We'll see. If he's out Tuesday, then we know, okay, something's up. I don't ever like hearing that a guy left the game with a sore knee, but I also think there was an element of like, were they in a 3-2 game? I don't know that he sits down. I think there was kind of like they leaned for the tape a little bit, and maybe that's why, okay, Bobby wanted to be in there. He's a gamer, and now they're like, okay, but I'm going to get you out as much as I can. And so I hope that that's okay. But winning with the Sunday lineup and with Bobby Witt Jr. coming out, I do like that. And with a pitcher in Noah Cameron, who was regarded as their number 5 starter to begin the year and has had struggles, the fact that he can go out and deal, if we're both not giving credit, if we're going to look back and be like, you know what, we missed it. Because this 5-2 is, if it goes on to be 15-5 and they build and they get back above 500 and they're fighting for a playoff spot. And we look back at this will be the game that I will say that this was the kind of game when you win these games this way, that's a real playoff team.
Yeah.
Right. Like, yeah. And not, I mean, but do it again and again and again. I'm not saying because they won this game this way that now they're a playoff team. I'm saying when you're picking up wins on these day off days and with your 5th starter and without your closer and all that, when a new closer is emerging, right? Which they didn't today because Alex Lange didn't get in there. We'll talk about him in a minute. But, when you win on the day that your closer's not available, I mean, this is how playoff teams do it when they have the depth that they're still good enough, even if they're not at their best.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, you get to, they're not going to get to 90 wins, but I mean, if you're building a 90 win team, it's because they win these games. Because when you lose these games, you're an 82 and 80 team, as they were last year, because they lost a lot of these games last year, and that was probably a big reason why they missed the playoffs. Was they didn't win the 8 or 10 games that they probably shouldn't have. And so yes, I think that's a really good thing. I think that getting these backups in there, I do. On the Witt thing, I thought it was interesting that there was no injury. It just kind of was sore, which I have a sore knee, but I'm a lot older than Bobby Witt, and I'm a little bit, let's say, heavier than Bobby Witt, and it carries around some weight on those knees. So it's a little bit concerning that nothing actually caused the injury. But you're right. The tone was very positive in general. And I think that didn't work out this way, but I think you look at the score and you say, all right, look, we're gonna get you 3 innings off your feet and then a full off day. It's almost like the DH before an off day type thing. So we'll see. We don't have any answers on that yet.
Yeah. We'll find out when they move forward. It's nice to see positivity, right? It's nice to see, them be able to celebrate a series win. It's nice to see them win 2 series back to back. And we know it's hard to win 4-game series.
It's more fun for us. I'll tell you that. I mean, I don't know about you, but going into last week, I was like, I guess we talked after the big win against the Reds. So because we pushed it to Monday, but I mean, I'm going, I don't know. I don't want to talk about this team at all. Yeah. And it's more fun to talk about when they're winning games, even if whether it means something or not, it's more fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. And now they got to add to it, right? Now you got to build on it. That's going to be the key. But I do like, winning. They won in a variety of ways, just like in the Twin series, the way they won with starters not being very good, starters being good. They won a 3-2 game. They won an 8-6 game. They
got some good relief work other than Beckway today too.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's
even Lucas Erceg, who had us all on the edge of our seat, the hits that he was giving up, other than the last one, but even the last one, I mean, damn, that ball carried. Thank God Isaac Collins got back on it. But even the last one was like opposite field. Excuse me, by the way, let me get the bat head around. And, it just had everyone's had those hits where you're actually getting pretty good, bat speed with it coming out there. And so it kind of flicked it out the other way. But the other hit was one that was a pitcher's pitch, and, it just found a home, and, a ground ball, a ball that bounces before it even gets to the mound,
and took his glove off, which I don't know how that happens, but yeah.
But I mean, you're looking for ground ball. That's what you're looking for. It just went to the spot you don't want it to go. So he wasn't even that bad. But yeah, to your point, other than Beckway, they actually have been kind of getting pretty good bullpen. So
at least the Twin series they did.
Yes. And that's the thing. Is it just the Twins and the Reds?
Yeah, it's hard to know. And by the way, the Twins without Byron Buxton from when he get hurt on Thursday, or was that Friday?
That is Byron Buxton. I mean,
well, it is, but at the same, but he's their lineup, right?
No doubt.
And he was in there to start the series, and he was not in there. I can't remember if it was late Thursday or late Friday, but either way, he was missing for most of the series, more than half of the series. And I mean, you're right, it is Byron Buxton, but a Twins lineup without him, you should win those games, and they did. Good for them. But the Twins are also they're annoyingly pesky. They've always been that way. I mean, you think back to the Metrodome days, and the Twins hit was a real thing. And the Royals perfected that too, by the way, in 2014 and 2015, I feel like. But I mean, some of those guys, the numbers are not good. But first of all, like Cody Clemens against the Royals is an all-star, which is annoying. But I mean, I'm thinking like Luke Keyshaw. I don't know how he's only hitting 240, and he had a bad series. But you look at this guy, and you're like, hey, this guy's a hitter. How is he not doing well? And so they've got some guys. It's not like they're. I think that they're somehow both underrated and overrated. But I mean that's they're big league hitters, at least in that lineup. It's not facing some of the Royals lineups we've seen in recent years.
Yeah. And the Twins got like a great hitting series from who was it that
Victor Caratini.
Yeah, Victor
Who
Caratini.
had 3 of his 7 extra base hits for the year were in this series.
Yeah, which don't get me wrong, is absolutely a negative for the Royals pitching. I'm not trying to poo-poo it, but like when the Twins get that kind of performance from a guy who doesn't usually give them production, you're supposed to go out and win the series, and the Royals didn't allow that to happen. I also, Jeff, you are absolutely right. A loss in the night today would have changed this broadcast. It 100%.
Sure.
But they didn't lose, and they had enough of a cushion to where they could give up those runs late. And they had that cushion because, and I think this is important, like Carter Jensen's at bat, was it the 8th that they scored the 6th run, I think? Yeah, it was the 8th inning. Carter Jensen driving in that run, I think the broadcast sometimes overdoes the importance of things. And because, I mean, they're pushing a story, right? Especially now. It's not even, there's no hiding it. They work for MLB. They work for the team now with the broadcast. So it is what it is, but I think they were right when they were talking about being much more of a team baseball offense this series, where you saw guys play for the 1 run first and then get the big inning, whereas they were playing for the grand slam when there was nobody on base previously. So I think that run was important, and it won them the game. So they hoped at the time that it didn't, but they needed every run they had. So I think that was really important. Yeah, it was. And, if you don't get the tack, I mean, we always say tack on runs are big. Like everybody says it in a baseball dugout, and even in the beer league softball, tack on runs are big. You're always looking to get it because you never know when it's, going to end up being something you need. They got it. And so, yeah, listen, it would have been a different theme, but they didn't let it happen, which has not been what was going on when they were losing. So I think it is a very important distinction to make, that they were able to get it done. All right, we'll take a quick break here. We want to get into, whether or not 500 is going to be good enough. Jack Caglione, we'll get into him a little bit. Up next, so we want to talk about some of the starting pitching that has been going on. We'll do it after you hear from our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Concrete season is in full swing, and asphalt paving is revving up. So right now is the time to get your property on the schedule with Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Whether you need new concrete work, a parking lot repaved, crack filling, seal coating, or full asphalt installation, their experienced crews handle it all right here in Kansas City. Don't wait until the rush hits. Call today for a free bid and secure your spot before the calendar fills up. Get the process started right now at GannAsphalt.com. That's GannAsphalt.com. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. And if you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. All right, let's talk about the closer role. Has Lange solidified himself as the closer? He's had, I think it's 7 consecutive outings without giving up a run. He has had an ERA below 2 over his last 19 outings, I think it is. I was looking up, I think he's got like 17 innings, and I was going through the game by game earlier today. Of course, I didn't pull that back up yet. I'll get it pulled up so I can give you those exact numbers. But are you comfortable saying, right now, Matt Quatrero is saying, well, he's going to mix and match, but 3 for 3, he went to Lange and saved. Like, it's one thing to say it, but he sure acted like he was the closer in the way he used him recently. What do you think of Lange as the guy at the back?
I'm still terrified. I will say that it's not like he's had clean saves, let's say, but he got them done. I mean, all 3 games that he saved, he put runners on. What I love about Lange, what I like about Lange, is that differently he gets strikeouts. The rest of the bullpen doesn't. And I mean, you look, his last 4 outings, he's 4 innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, which that's a problem with Lange, but 7 strikeouts. He gets the job done in that way. And we saw it on Saturday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday, Saturday, the afternoon game. They had the leadoff runner on second base, but never moved up because he got strikeouts. He got swing and miss, which the big issue, we talk about Lucas Erceg. He wasn't terrible today. It was weak contact and a ground ball, but it's contact because it's just constant contact with him. They should be a sponsor for us. But the difference is Lange doesn't, he gets swing and miss, which allows him to get out of those situations. Yes, I'm concerned about him. What I found really interesting is it must have been Thursday night, the game, the Rojas game, when they won 8-6, and they could have tacked on more. Alex Lange was warming up in the bullpen. And when they got more runners on, Mason Black warmed up next to him. This is me just totally. I'm getting into Matt Quattro's head and pretending like I know anything. But if he's not your actual closer, if he's just a guy part of the closer rotation, I don't think you get somebody up next to him to make sure he doesn't have to pitch that night. It's just, maybe I'm wrong, but he was treated in that way as a closer. That's, you're going to be in if it's a safe situation, and somebody else will be in if it's not. And I think a guy who's not your actual closer is not treated that way. I could be wrong, but that's kind of my guess there.
Yeah, since his ERA reached, well, I don't want to say it's high. His high watermark was 8.38 after he gave up 4 runs on June 23rd. Then he had a scoreless inning. Then he gave up a run. ERA was at 7.71. Since that point, 17 appearances, 17 and a third, 12 hits, 3 runs, 6 walks, 12 strikeouts, which is funny because it means he only had 5 in the first 10 appearances there based upon
the first 13.
Yeah, first 13.
Yeah.
And then but his ERA 1.56, his FIP 3.1, so he was pitching at a little bit of good luck, which you can see with those peripheral numbers. But I mean, he really has. This has been going on for a while, right? That he's been pitching better.
I hadn't thought about this until maybe yesterday. Maybe we didn't give enough credit to the fact that he threw 1 big league game last year and needed a little time. I mean, it very well could be that this is a guy he threw. I don't remember how many he threw in the minors, but he pitched on August 18th for the Tigers, and then that was it in the big leagues. I'm trying to look now. I can't remember if he pitched after that at all. It would help if I looked at the right year. I'm on 26. That doesn't do much. He did. He pitched in AAA, but it's a different game. I mean, he pitched August 24th. He pitched a few games in AAA after that 1 game in Detroit, but I don't know. Maybe it's just tough to get back on the horse that quickly and assume that he can be the guy he was a couple of years ago, which the guy he was a couple of years ago, with, he wasn't a great reliever, but 2022, he had a 3.41 ERA and a 3.25 FIP. He struck out 82 in 63 innings. 2023, it was a 3.68 ERA. It was a 4.36 FIP, but 79 strikeouts in 66 innings. I mean, and he saved 26 games that year. This is a guy who's done it before. He hasn't been an elite closer, an elite reliever, but he's been a quality reliever in the big leagues. Maybe, at least from my perspective, maybe I didn't give him enough of a grace period given the injury issues from last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a reason to believe that that he's not just getting lucky, that he's getting settled in, right? Like, so I think that's definitely a good sign. I think you should treat him not as like we're going to him 3 days in a row, but I think he's the best of the bunch right now. And he has been around the block a couple of times, so he shouldn't wilt if he does blow one. And I think Lucas Erceg needs a break. And I'll be honest with you, I his whole, when he was on post game and he cussed and he's like, oh, the adrenaline. I mean, I've said, like, you should not have to whip yourself into a frenzy to go perform. And that I said it at that time. I'm like, I don't know that I love that. Like, I don't think, the whole huffing and puffing thing up on the mound. You got to be able to think and, what you're doing and be in control of what's going on. So I think that's what he's decided a closer is like. And so he tries to get to that point, and I don't think it works. So I think it'd be nice to see Lucas Erceg not work in that role for a little bit and then see. I think he still probably has the best stuff. He was at 98 miles per hour today. So maybe he has the best stuff. Maybe he gets back to that point later on. We'll see.
You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see Mason Black a little bit more. I mean, that the numbers, you look at like Stuff Plus and those stats that like Saris puts out and you see on Fangraphs, and they don't love him, but every time I watch him, I'm always surprised at how good the stuff looks. And I mean, today it played, obviously hindsight's 2020, but just leave Mason Black in. The game's probably over in 3 batters. I totally understand getting Beckway in there in a 6-1 game. Let him pitch a 9th inning of a big league game. I get it. It clearly didn't work. But I'd like to see Mason Black get some opportunities too, a little bit of leverage.
We talked about him back in spring training that we thought that, if this team, like, hey, let's fast forward, they're playing in October, who's setting up? And we said it's Luinder Avila or Mason Black, or they've acquired somebody. And Mason Black looked really good in spring training. Then he wasn't very good, to be honest with you, to start the minor leagues. But now I agree. He looks like he's coming around, and I think this is what they got him for, was to be a reliever and not to be a starter. They haven't needed him to start. They pushed him to the bullpen, and he would be a guy that they would probably consider going to, if not for the performances of Noah Cameron and Luinder Avila. Is it time to start talking about Noah Cameron as more than just, the 5th starter? As like, his ERA is now back under 4. They publicly announced the problem was an arm slot thing. And after they publicly announced it, he's been fixed. Like, okay. And by the way, I love the fact that he got off track and they're able to get him back on track. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a whole year and, we're going to hope in the off season we can figure it out. Brian Sweeney and him got together and figured out the problem and solved it. And now he's back being outstanding. I mean, is it time to start talking about Noah Cameron as more than just the 5th starter on this team when he's going like he is now?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing with Cameron, and the reason that I think he was held back is not the right word, that we looked at him as more of a back of the rotation guy, is that he didn't get enough strikeouts. And it's the same thing as Ursa. You give up, I've said this a million times, I'll say it again, a strikeout is never a hit. A batted ball is sometimes a hit. And doesn't matter how soft it is or how hard it's batted balls can find holes, strikeouts can't. Guys reach base once every 300 strikeouts or whatever. But the difference this year, and especially the arm slot, I think, lowered to try to get more swing and miss. And he did improve some in that regard. And you look this year, his strikeout rate 22% versus 20.5% last year, or coming into today it was. And then Noah Cameron goes out today and goes 6 innings and strikes out 7 without a walk, 3 hits allowed, weak contact. He wouldn't have given up the run was unearned. It wouldn't have given up a run, obviously, if not for an error by Bobby Witt Jr., which is pretty rare. And so the difference that I see in Cameron between last year and this year is you're looking at a guy who's actually getting strikeouts. And it goes back, this is not including today. I'll do the math in my head real quick, but his last 5 starts now, 30 innings, 6 earned runs, 17 hits, 31 strikeouts, and 3 walks. That's pretty good. It's the a not great Twins team, a struggling Reds team, the Yankees, the Mariners, and a Cardinals team that's hitting. So, I mean, the last 2 have not been against the most impressive lineups, but also that ballpark in Cincinnati, I don't care who the lineup is, that you can sneeze and hit a home run if you're a big league hitter there sometimes. So I'm impressed by what I've seen. I mean, I still wouldn't say, he's going to start game 1 of a playoff series at some point. But I mean, he went from a guy who I think doesn't even sniff a playoff series to maybe he does start game 3 if you get there. Maybe he's a guy who he is the Brady Singer from 2024 role, where if you go to a 7-game series, you're actually using him as a starter, which you weren't before. You just weren't. So I like what I've seen. I might just be a little slow to come around because the strikeouts have been there and the lack of walks and everything that paints him as better than a 5 for sure.
Yeah, 4 of his last 5 quality starts. You mentioned the opponents that they've been against. I mean, he has been looking a lot better. And speaking of looking a lot better, like Luinder Avila, I announced, let's stop with the starting bit with Luinder Avila when he had a spot start. I can't remember maybe it was when Cole Reagans, did he come in for Cole Reagans?
No, it was somebody was sick. Waka. was sick.
Walker got sick, and it
Yeah.
didn't go well. And I'm like, can we just? And part of it's because I had it in my head he was going to be the setup guy, and I didn't want to derail what I thought was going to be their best setup guy. They have needed him because Bergert has gone down. Kolek has got a family situation, and so they have needed him to step in. He's been pretty damn good. Like, I mean, I don't want to get too excited because I don't know that I still buy it. I buy Noah Cameron a lot more, right? But damn, that's been an important part of the equation for him to be able to step in there and start, because Bailey Falter's been a disaster.
Well, you think?
Yeah.
I feel like you said that as kindly as possible about Bailey Falter. No, I think the last 2 starts, 10 total innings. He's only allowed 1 run in each of them, 2 hits in each of them. The one pause that I will have is the walks, because he's walked 7 in 10 innings. And the problem that I have with Avila is the fact that he doesn't control the zone especially well, and that can get him in trouble. But what I found really interesting, particularly in his start against the Reds, is he lost the zone entirely. I can't remember if it was the 4th or the 5th inning. I think it was the 5th, because I think it was his last inning, and he found it and then continued to pound it. I mean, he found it and he got his last 2 strikeouts, I believe, in that inning. The stuff never left, but the command came back, and I don't remember who it was, but it was a former big league pitcher once told me, this is probably 15 years ago now, maybe 10 years ago, that the best pitchers, everybody loses it. Everybody loses command at some time. The best pitchers are the ones who can find it and keep it. Some guys can find it for a batter and lose it again, but the best ones find it and keep it for the rest of that inning, the rest of that game. Now, I don't know what would have happened because he didn't come back out, but he found it and he got through the inning and looked maybe better the rest of that inning than he had previously in the whole game. And so that to me was really encouraging. He's a big guy. He should be able to start body wise. And I said it, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, but with the Royals where they are right now, there's no reason not to get him however many more starts there are left in the season and see what he can do. He can always go back to the bullpen next year if it doesn't work, or if he completely flames out. If he gets in his next 4 starts is 9 innings and 17 runs, all right, put an end to it, whatever. But he's shown enough at least to say, hey, let's see what he can do for another 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever they need starts.
Yeah, I think it's clear that Kolek isn't going anywhere in this rotation. So if you get Cole Reagans and you get Kris Bubic back, who's out? Like, who's going where? And that brings up the fact that there's some rumblings that the A's have interest in Kris Bubic.
Which is interesting. I'm sure he would love it. Go back close to home. And the A's are interesting too, because they've got a decent farm system. So yeah, we talked about this. I think it was on the show on Thursday, right? That what's the reason? The argument for Kris Bubic to go back into the rotation is trade value, and to show that he's healthy whenever it is he's healthy. And I haven't looked at the injury update in the last couple of days, but last I saw is that he was it bullpens? Is that what it was? Or was that Reagans?
Well, both of them are in their throwing program. Neither one of them, like, I don't even care until they go on a rehab assignment.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want to do. I don't feel a need to classify having a catch. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's playing catch. Well, he's long tossing. Well, he did a bullpen. Well, he did an up down. Well, let me know when he's ready to go on a rehab. Okay. When he goes and he's going to pitch in a game, let me know. None of them are at that point right now out of any of the hurt pitchers.
I'll give you, I went to the MLB.com, Royals.com. Their injury updates are great, by the way. Kris Bubic status on track with his bullpen schedule, including 4 up session the week of June 1st, which is over.
Which I love that they put that there. I'm not trying to knock them for putting it there, but for me, because I love that information, but it doesn't matter to me until they start talking about they're going to send him to a rehab assignment.
But it's better than Cole Reagans, who resumed playing catch June 1st and is progressing well, but has not thrown a bullpen yet.
Yes.
So I'm with you. I don't care. I care more about throwing bullpens than playing catch. I care way more about a rehab assignment, and I care even more about not being sore after the rehab assignment start. But so they've got to get Bubic back, and they've got to get Bubic back and healthy. And I think the argument for keeping him in the rotation, if and when he does come back, is to say, hey, look at this guy. Look at 3 starts. He threw 19 innings. He's ready to go. You send us your offers. I think that's the reason that you keep him in the rotation. And if you don't get offers, have him help your bullpen. If you don't get the offer you like, and I guess, I don't know. I go back and forth on that because he's a free agent. So just trade him. You know, if you don't get the offer, you're not going to give him a qualifying offer if he's not starting. So just trade him and get what you get. But
what's he worth?
That's why you do it.
Terry asked the question, what's he worth? I mean, not a lot. He's a rent-a pitcher with injury history. Not much. I mean, and I think that's why there may be some conversation is that the Royals, the ask on it now, if they're, you know, I mean, if they were trying to move him as part of getting a hold of Brendan Donovan, you know, in the offseason. Well, you're not getting an everyday player back for renting Kris Bubic for half a season, you know, whenever this deal is going to go down. So, you know, at this point, it may be like, listen, and I don't think there's any way. We've talked about it. In fact, I think we talked about it Thursday on the program that he'd have to get down to a rehab assignment real quick, throw a couple of rehab games, and get back up, and then stay up the whole way before anyone would ever consider giving him a qualifying offer. So you're not going to get a draft pick for him, and that's such a fine needle to thread that I don't see how it could possibly happen. So to me, if you like where things are at with Kolich, you like where things are at with Cameron, you like where things are at with Luinder Avila, that's the shakiest one. I'm with you. That's the shakiest one of the bunch. But and you think Cole Reagans is going to come back, then you could just you 40 cents on the dollar, maybe all you're going to get.
Well, and the other side of that too, it could very well be that if Kris Bubic goes to the bullpen and shoves like he did in 24, maybe he gets you better value because relievers on the trade market they're not as valuable as guys who are going to pitch game 1 or 2 of a playoff series, but they're more valuable than guys who just get you to the playoffs. They're more valuable to a playoff team. If you can get a lefty who can do what he did in 24, that's more valuable to a team than a number 5 starter. And so it could very well be that Kris Bubic in the bullpen is actually what gets them the most value. And real quick, I wrote about this. It was May 22nd. I went back and looked. Some starters with in the last year of their deal before they hit free agency. The ones who got the most, Merrill Kelly was healthy. Dustin May was healthy. I still don't understand what Boston did there. So that's an outlier. But like Adrian Hauser didn't bring back a ton, although Curtis Meade is playing really well for the Nationals, not the team that actually acquired him. Jack Flaherty was healthy. Frankie Montas was healthy. Yusei Kikuchi was healthy. And so there's a big difference between what those guys typically do get it. And if Bubic comes back, you know, I think what's the earliest he could possibly come back? Early July, right? Like get 3 starts before the deadline. The earliest, not likeliest, earliest.
Yeah.
I mean, early July. So you're going to get 3 starts to show him off, 4 starts maybe. I don't know. I have a hard time thinking they're going to get what they want, but he's going to be a free agent. So you just take what you can get, I think.
Yeah, there's definitely an element of that. And by the way, Cotman pointed out, this is Cotman's right on this, right? The qualifying offer is only for the Royals. Yes. It doesn't transfer. So
you cannot, if a player is traded midseason, they cannot get a qualifying offer.
Right.
From their acquiring team.
Yep. Okay. So I'm glad you brought that up, Cotman. Thank you. I want to make sure we're clear on that. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if anybody is actually, you know, willing to put forth any kind of offer that the Royals want. But he's got to get back healthy first. So there's somewhat the cart in front of the horse on this one a little bit when we talk about it. We're going to want to get into whether or not 500 is going to be good enough. Jack Caglione running into the wall. I want to talk about that. We'll do it after you hear from our friends at Italian Delight. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. And if you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight.
Gann Asphalt and Concrete is looking to grow their team. If you have heavy construction foreman experience with heavy equipment, asphalt or concrete labor, or just want to learn a new trade, contact Gann Asphalt and Concrete to join their team today. Top of the market pay, company provided insurance, and paid time off and holiday pay are just a few of the great reasons to join Gann's expanding team. Learn more about this great opportunity with Gann at GannAsphalt.com/careers. That's GannAsphalt.com/careers. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots.
All right, is 500 going to be good enough for the playoffs? I mean, is it time to just recognize that that's all it's going to take?
My gut still says no. I mean, obviously, I don't think 500 is good enough to win the Central. So that leaves it to a wild card. And the Rays and Yankees are both 12 games over 500. So that leaves 2 wild cards. Now,
which are currently manned by the White Sox at 34 and 31 and the Rangers at 32 and 33.
Which I don't buy the White Sox. They're way better than we thought. I don't think they're going to stick around. I think they're probably – look, I could be wrong. Nobody bought the Royals in 24 and they stuck around. But they also were off to a better start than this.
You know what's interesting, just not to derail your line of thought here, but the run differential, and this almost never happens, the run differential of all the teams that hold the playoffs right now are all positive.
Mm-hmm.
And all the teams that don't are all negative. Now, it's a weird year in the sense that there's a sub 500 team that's currently holding a playoff spot. But I do think that's of note that, like, there isn't, like the freaky one is the Guardians are +1 in their run differential, and they're 7 over. So, I mean, I think there's a correction coming for the Guardians. I don't think they're going to run away with the division. I mean, they're so far in front of the Royals. I'm not saying the Royals are going to catch them or anyone's necessarily going to catch them, but they're +1. The Rays are +7. The Mariners +29. The Yankees, who are in a wild card spot, +96. White Sox +8. Rangers +14. Now the Royals blow at -48. I mean, they're a long way back. But, the A's at 31 and 34 are -43. The Orioles at 31 and 35 are -31. I mean, it is striking how that is working out this year.
The American League sucks. Let's be real. Like this is the reality. When the White Sox are the 5th best team, and look, I love what they're doing. I mean, I hate it from a Royals perspective, but I love what they're doing. They've done a great job. I think they're a little bit ahead of schedule, and I think that
they just lost their biggest bat for like 6 weeks.
Right? Yeah, it's a long time. I don't think they're going to stick around at where they are. I think that, at the end of the year, they're probably going to have 77 wins, which is a huge improvement for them and great for them. And I think that's wonderful. But I have a hard time believing that the Blue Jays aren't going to get hot, that maybe the Orioles, maybe it's the Astros. I don't think it's the Red Sox. The Tigers, look, they've been playing better, and Skubal's coming back. He looks great as an A-ball. I would hope he'd look great against A-ball players, but I have a hard time believing that it's not still going to get up to 84 wins for the 3rd wild card. And there's nothing to suggest that it will. So, I mean, I guess mathematically you say, okay, sure, it's a 500 record, but I have a tough time thinking that, one of those or 2 of those teams aren't going to get hot enough to get, like I said, to 84 wins. And look, if it's 81 wins to make the playoffs, I don't think the Royals are going to do it, but they're certainly not out of it. If it's 84, that's obviously 3 more wins, which it's tough to do with what do they have, 96 left to go now. So I do think somebody's going to get hot. Mathematically, though, it's sort of looking like the 3rd wild card is going to be around 500.
Yeah, it does. And I think, probably you're going to have to get above 500, but I think 83, 84 might do it. I mean, I don't see, like, all these teams, I continue to come back to, I think everybody's using the same blueprint now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got parity, and I think this might be the new way that a lot of baseball works.
Well, and one more playoff spot too. That helps.
Mm-hmm.
You saw the National League last year. The Reds made it with 83 wins.
Yeah. Jack Caglione out of the lineup. He ran into the wall. I have said a number of times it's a big body to be diving and throwing yourself around out in the outfield to be, which landing when you dive for balls or running into the wall at his weight is just a bigger impact than anybody else. Like he was drafted to hit and not win Gold Gloves. And now he's running into the wall. He toughed it out. He stayed in, tried to play, but now they're saying he's got a sore shoulder. I'm like, and you sit here, and I know everybody at the time when I was like, look, you got 2 first basemen, trade one of them if you believe in this kid. Now, if you don't, if you're like, look, the swing and miss, like I know the minor league numbers were a monster, but we're not convinced that he can do it, right? And he is not hitting for power, although his 405 slug is like second best on the team. But if you believe if you believe in him, then or you believe in Vinny, like one of those guys honestly should have been traded.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do this, like we want the DH to be a guy's half off day stuff, and we need that for Salvador Perez. I mean, you could have 32 and 100 from Vinny Pasquantino. I mean, that brings something in return. I mean, it would be bold and dynamic, but this like, no, we can't trade anybody that's good is just not going to make it go.
I think that the Royals got, and they did this themselves, but I think that they got kind of screwed a little bit by Caglione's season last year, because they got to a point that they come into this season expecting to contend. Obviously hasn't worked out. You can't count on Jack Caglione to be your first baseman, and you've got the 32 and 100 guy. And I know what you're saying. Trust your evaluation. If you believe in him, don't worry about the bad season. But I sort of understand the Royals going, hey, we can't turn first base over to the guy who had the sub 600 OPS in 200 something at bats. I played appearance, whatever. I get it. I understand the thought process there. But it's the issue with an issue with the Royals is they're a lot slower and less athletic than people realize, because they have a Royals uniform on, and a lot of people think about the Royals as a speed team and that they run. They're not fast. They're not athletic. And I think, and it's sort of the same issue, but you got to line up with Caglione, and he's not. He's faster than I thought he would be. But Pasquantino and Salvi and Michael Garcia is not as fast as you think he is. And Kyle Isbell is not as fast as you think he is. If you're watching the Apple TV broadcast, they thought he was a burner, but he's not. Like these guys, Bobby Witt Jr. is very fast, elite speed. Tyler Tolbert is also not as fast as you think, but very fast. Lane Thomas can run. Most of these guys are not. Michael Massey is a plotter. You do not realize it, but Michael Massey is slow. and so you're starting to get into a spot where this lineup is very unathletic. And again, it's sort of your same point, but at some
when
point,
when your ideal lineup is playing 2 catchers and 2 first basemen,
yeah,
I mean that's almost half of it, and you've got those guys. Like, I mean, right there, that takes away any shot at having any.
I get less annoyed. Like Carter Jensen's athletic. He's. I think by sprint speed, I believe Carter Jensen is 4th on the team, which is a little bit like Jack Caglione having the 2nd best slugging percentage. But Jensen's legitimately above average speed wise. But real quick, I want to catcher. No, to overall
above average. Overall, or just above average.
He's like 65th percentile in sprint speed.
Okay.
Which he's above average, but
he is 22.
He should, yeah. I was a lot faster at 22 also. Probably not 65th percentile. But I mean, the conversation, and especially with the way Vinny Pasquantino had started this season, he's come around. He's doing much better, and it's actually really interesting. It feels like he's gone back to his 2022 approach, where he's sacrificed power to get hits. He's going the opposite way more. He's walking more. He's striking out less. He's actually hitting lefties again, which is interesting that his approach has changed. I might write about that this week because it's been interesting to watch. But you sort of wonder in some ways, do they need either of them? Should they trade both of them and just get more athletic in general? I think probably not. I think they should keep one of them, in my opinion. But I think that one of the things the Royals need to do when they get into the offseason is say, look, I know we were looking for guys who can work counts and take walks, and they've walked more this year. That's worked to some extent. The numbers, the results haven't been their run score wise, but they have walked more. So that part has at least been better. But maybe they need to kind of, I don't want to tempt them too much, but find more athletic players, because the brand of baseball they want to play doesn't work with the team they have.
Well, what brand of baseball do they want to play?
They want to be aggressive, and we've seen it. That's why they get thrown out so much, because they're slow.
I can't get my arms around this. Like you know what? I want you to be safe.
Sure.
Like I don't understand this justification of like, well, we want to be aggressive, and if you're aggressive, you're going to make outs. Don't stop. Like I don't get it. Like if you can make it, go. If not, like I don't understand how we've turned base running into this. Like, well, it's a crapshoot, and you just got to decide: are you never going to go, or are you always going to go? That's not it. You're supposed to go when you can get there.
Sure.
Okay, so I am sick of hearing this foolishness about, well, we want to be aggressive, and that's how it's going to be. No, I mean, go when you're going to be safe.
But they'd be safe a lot more if they had anybody who could run, and they don't, which is a problem. So they have to either change the way they want to play baseball, or change the players that they play with. And I would entertain arguments for both, honestly. I can see an argument. Look, I'd like an aggressive brand of baseball when you've got the team that can do it. And I don't even mind getting thrown out occasionally. I really don't, because teams are going to get thrown out. It's going to happen. But what I do mind is the fact that you're trying to be something that you can't be, because your fourth fastest player is your 22-year-old catcher. Yeah. It just doesn't work.
The week ahead has the Rangers and the Astros, the 32-33, third place in the wild card Rangers, and the Houston Astros, who currently sit at what? Where are the Astros?
30-37. They're 3 out of the wild card.
Yeah, 30-37. Expectations for this week, or what?
I have no idea. I really don't. I don't know what this team is at all. They've shown that they can get hot for 2 weeks. Could this be the second week of that? Maybe. Actually, they've shown they can get hot they had a 12-5 stretch. That's 3 weeks of good baseball. The Rangers are beatable. The Astros are beatable. I have not looked ahead to the pitching matchups. Let me do that real quick and see what they're going to get. Looks like against the Rangers, Nathan Eovaldi, Mackenzie Gore, and Kumar Rocker. So they got a lefty in there. Not great. Against the Astros, Tatsuya Imai, I think is how he says it. He's struggled, although he did pitch the first six innings of that no-hitter. Then Mike Burrows and Spencer Arrighetti, who's been really good. Look, you're home. If you want to get back in this race, if you think 500 can do it and you can get back in this race, you got to go 4-2 minimum. I have no idea, though. I just have no idea.
Well, there's no doubt you got to start winning series. And this isn't the worst teams in the American League, but it's not the best either. And so you can't be acting like every game is the Yankees. It's 3 at home with Texas, 3 at home with Houston. Then the following week, 3 at Washington.
Mm-hmm. And they've been good.
3 at home with the Cardinals. So you have 9 out of 12 at home. Washington is the team that you're playing on the road, and they're 500. Like, you're supposed to win some of these games. I mean, they really need to go like 8-4 over the next 12.
Well, and like I said, after that, you've got 4 at Tampa, 4 at the White Sox, 3 against Tampa at home, and then 3 against the Phillies at home.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
and the Phillies are getting back together. So.
Yeah, they've been really good since Don Mattingly took over, and so. Yeah, this is the stretch that they got to do it in. I do think this is the second time that the travel is just bizarre for the Royals. They had that trip earlier to Cleveland. They were home, went to Cleveland, came for 3 games, or I think it was 3, and then came back home. And now they got this one again where they're home, go to Washington for 3 games, then come back home. It's just bizarre travel, which doesn't help anybody, but look, it's the schedule that they have in front of them. So.
They've played better baseball of late, 5-2 in their last 7. Let's see if they can keep it going here as they move forward. You can always support the Kaufman Corner podcast by supporting our great sponsors, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Kansas City's best if you own or manage a business, whether you need new concrete work, a parking lot repaved, crack filling, seal coating, full asphalt installation, their experienced crews handle it all. Go to GannAsphalt.com, making parking lot problems disappear for more than 30 years. One contractor, all things parking lot. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, and of course our friends at Italian Delight, first restaurant in Kansas City to bring true New York style pizza to town almost 50 years ago, plus great strombolis, calzones, sausage rolls, hot and cold subs, famous lasagna. They got lunch specials starting at under $10. I think Renee is insane. I've told him he needs to raise his prices. He hadn't done it, so take advantage of it. 8145 State Ave, just a few miles east of Kansas Speedway on State Ave. You can order online at Italian Delight KS.com. For David Lesky, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Kaufman Corner podcast.